Hey guys, welcome to week 6. Congratulations, the hardest part of this class is now over, which was generating new material. So now we are just revising everything and getting it as polished as possible before the final portfolio is due, which from the beginning of class you could see when it was due, but just as a reminder again, it's due this Friday, 11:59 p.m., your entire portfolio. So this video, I'm just going to give you a quick rundown of what's in the final portfolio. It's very similar to the midterm. That's why we did the midterm as in preparation for the final. I'm going to show you a sample, the template, the grade form that you'll receive by the next Tuesday when grades are due, and I'll tell you a little bit about discussion 19 and show you the main goals for English 102, which are already in JAC. So today is going to be the second to last video. On Wednesday, I'm going to do a quick proofreading strategies video, just in case you are having some trouble with revision. Of course, you should already start revising and email me with any questions or any issues pertaining to my feedback. So yes, please let me know if you have questions. I'm going to be more available this week to answer emails more quickly because I'm doing less videos and I don't have a new batch of papers to grade. So please send them my way. I will do my best to answer them as fast as possible. Okay, so quickly let's go to the discussion board and I'll show you what's due for today by 6 p.m. So you only have 2 more left, which is awesome. There's one due today and there's one due on Wednesday. And basically these are, if you do them and you do them up to the length requirement, answer the questions, you're going to get 100 on them like most of the discussions. This one's about a revision plan. So a revision plan, again, half-page, double-spaced, is what questions do you have about the final portfolio, what paper is your strongest, which paper needs the most revision, and what do you plan to revise and why. This part here, once you answer it, this can go into your reflective cover memo. So remember that you did one at midterm. I'm going to let you actually develop the one that you have at midterm into a fuller one so that you don't have to dispose of what you've already typed. You can just add on to it. Normally I don't do that. This is the first time I'm allowing students to do that, so it's a little bit less work for you guys. Anyway, but you must talk about what was not included in the midterm. So the qualitative research paper is the biggest project for the whole class, but since midterm as well, the op-ed, and then you've also done peer review, free writing, you've improved in other ways as a writer overall. All of that is stuff you can add to your reflective cover memo, and I'll show you a sample one and the template so that you can help generate more material there. Also, in your midterm feedback, I tried to write in your grade form for your midterm, I tried to write what either you were doing well in your reflective cover memo or you weren't doing very well. So pay attention to that feedback as well as the feedback that you get on your actual documents, because I'm trying to give you as much feedback in as many places as possible to make your papers better and your writing better. Okay, so that's with discussions. Let's go to coursework, papers, and finally, we're on the final. So here, there are a couple of documents. The most important one is the template, which I put first. So this document, Helpful Details for the Portfolio, and this document, Revising the Annotated Bibliography, those two you've already seen and you have in different places. Another helpful grammar guide is, I think, less helpful, despite the title, to students because they don't care so much about grammar, or maybe you do, but like the inner workings of grammar, I have them on a guide I created. So let's just take a look at these two and then we'll go to the final memo example. And then we'll look at the template in the sample. So this is the helpful details for the portfolio. This was also under exploratory writing, helpful details. So titles, these are your own titles, passive voice versus active voice. We've talked about that. Limit use of second person. So in the op-ed, second person is fine because it's less formal. Generalizations. If I see generalizations in your papers, I typically point them out and I say, how are you providing research for this? Is this based on personal experience, etc.? All right, so a lot of you are doing this incorrectly, so please pay attention. Article titles or titles of short works are in quotation marks always. overall titles, book titles, an entire website like Google, journal titles like Journal of Medicine, those are always italicized or underlined. And just keep it consistent to italicized or underline. A lot of you are getting confused and you're doing both or you're doing neither, and it's a very simple rule. Article titles in quotation marks, overall titles italicized. So please remember that. And this is throughout the whole, every discipline. This is not just English and it's not just 102. This is, when you're using APA or Chicago Manual Style or CSSE, it's any kind of citation style. All right, commas and periods. I've talked to you about this before a little bit. I always try to mark it at least one time as a sample in your document for revision, and then I expect you to learn that rule and go on. If you have trouble learning the rule, then please ask me questions about it, and I can teach you the rule better. And then in-text citations. So we've done a lot of this. All right, the next document, which I'm not even going to go over, see if you want it. It's basically like, what is a preposition? How do you use it, etc. If you have a lot of comma splices, I've been marking a lot of these lately in your op-eds, then here's a comma splice, here's what it is, and here is, here's an example of one. How you fix it is you just put a period instead of the comma, or look back at the comma slice and run on sentences and fragments video earlier, because I've already broken this down for you guys. And it's an Easy Writer, and I believe it's really anywhere online. Yeah, so if I point out you have a specific grammar issue, then that's something you should be proofreading for. Learn that rule. I know that grammar is impossible and you can't learn all of the rules, but if I say introducer comma, learn the rule for introducer comma, and then fix it. Whereas like all of this stuff, I'm not expecting you to know all this stuff, but especially if there's one specific thing that I pointed out, then I definitely want you to learn that. Not only just for this class, but for other classes like job applications, CVs, personal statements, everything like this. The number one thing when I'm serving on any kind of academic committee or scholarship committee, if I see it's a sloppy application or it's a sloppy presentation, immediately it goes to the bottom of the pile. And a lot of people I've talked to in job search, like conferences and job search talks, that's the same for them. So even though grammar seems like such a minor thing and it's such a pain in the butt, it can really affect you getting a job. So if I point out these issues, make it a kind of personal goal for you to either ask me about these issues or figuring it out on your own so that you have a more polished presentation overall that just affects your ethos as a business professional or in your future academic career, whatever. All right, so let's go to this document now. Sorry I'm flying through these because it's pretty much all the same as the midterm, and they will all be online, except for this won't be online, but you already have a midterm sample of this. And then the sample won't be online because I find when I put samples online, students tend to not like plagiarize them, but they tend to copy exactly the format, whereas I want you guys to come up with your own examples. Okay, so this here is exactly the same. The only thing that changed is it's no longer a working portfolio. It's the final thing. You turn it in, you get a grade on it now. And then I will do the math for 10%, 20%, 70% of these three categories. Participation, again, everyone should be getting an A or a B. Exploratory writing, very high grades in this. And then portfolio is going to be the big one. So put your time toward the portfolio, obviously, throughout the rest of this week. And then your final grade in English 102 will be here. Okay? I will put how many exploratory writings you completed. Hopefully you know by now. And you can check all of the assessments, all these rubrics, which I have to use to grade your overall progress in this class. They're all already listed here. Okay, so you can check those out yourself. Okay, so let's go to the template. This template is pretty much the same. Again, I'm trying to just not add a whole bunch of new stuff. I'm trying to just build upon what you already know. Add your name here, and then the only difference is this should be 2 to 3 single-spaced pages. So minimum of 2 full pages. You've already written one for your midterm, which I said you can expand upon it. So, and you might even polish it up a little bit more if you have time, because again, this is the first thing I'll see. It is affecting your ethos. Don't present a sloppy one. And try not to include BS or fluff. I'm a student. I know how this works. what did you actually learn and what did you actually improve upon? If it's nothing, then perhaps you should kind of reevaluate your success in the class, but I doubt that will be the case with anyone. So just do all this. I put 2 pages here, and then of course you need to add your name here, keep the header the same. This, anytime it says beginning of, take that out. I'm just showing you where the spacing should align. So do all that, and then you have the proposal, you have the title, it's the same as your qualitative research paper. Begin the proposal here, and then your qualitative research paper is really long, roughly 10 pages. Goes all the way down to your op-ed. So you have the title of your op-ed, the beginning of your op-ed. So obviously you delete this and you just start your paper, copy and paste it into this document. And then the last thing is your peer review. You can use the same one from midterm. If you've written a better peer review since then you should copy that from eCampus, from one of the discussions, and include it here. You only need to include one peer review for one peer. So let's say the op-ed peer review was your best one and you had to do it for 2 peers. You only need to include one of those 2 peers. Many of you included extra work, and that's fine, but I'm only really going to look at one, the first one that you include, because of time and because it's kind of up to you to choose your strongest example. I want you to kind of self-evaluate here as well. All right, and then that's it. So it should be roughly 20 pages. Believe me, you will have 20, if not over, so you'll be good in terms of the English department rubric, or for the minimum of 20 pages for any English 101 and 102 class. Oh yeah, and peer review again is something that you wrote about your peers. I don't want to write about, or I don't want to read about what they wrote about you. I've already read that. You are kind of self-assessing. All right, so this is online. The other 2 documents I showed you were online. Let's look at the sample. And then I believe we will almost be out of time. Yeah, so all of this is already online. The 4 goals I can mention very briefly. These are the goals that your portfolio should be able to demonstrate. So in addition to all of the rubrics that are already in JAC, these 5 goals, but I only look at 4 because this one's about digital environments and you're all savvy enough to have met goal 5. Rhetorical knowledge, research and writing, critical thinking, evaluation, exploration, and writing conventions. Okay, so you might just look over these. This is in JAC page, 12 in Roman numerals. So this here, just keep in mind, is what I'm kind of assessing your portfolio with. All right, in the sample. So we looked at a different sample. I really liked that you guys had subheadings in your last midterm. Continue with the subheadings. Your midterm portfolio, reflective cover memo. The subheadings really helped you add more structure, and I believe kind of forced you into not writing fluff. So in here, this student started out with just a general, like, over the whole semester, I feel I've come a long way, blah, blah, blah. Maybe you could mention your strengths and weaknesses here, like I still struggle with this, or I've learned X, Y, and Z, and then you can go into each project, that's fine, or you can do it topic-based, like introductions. If you want to have a subheading that says introductions, and then you can talk about introductions in your op-ed versus your qualitative research paper. They're 2 vastly different kinds of introductions. You could have a subheading about citations. You could say how citations, or even research types. So like in the qualitative research paper, the research had to be extremely academic. And then in the op-ed, I said basically I don't care, except it can't be like blogs or non-scholarly encyclopedia / dictionary entries. So like the Oxford English Dictionary and the Cambridge Dictionary are fine, but like Webster's, not so much. Anyway, so anything like that is fair game here for your reflective cover memo. So he had met the minimum and went over a little bit. And then the first paper just cut out here because it's the evaluation paper. You guys didn't do that. And then the annotated bib, just look at your, make sure all of your spacing and everything's correct. Also, last thing before this video ends, you can submit it as a PDF. I've already recommended most of you go ahead and submit it as a PDF so that your charts and graphs and stuff don't get messed up. So if you have questions about that, let me know. Otherwise, stick around for Wednesday's video and keep emailing me, sending your questions.